From the Vox Populi studios at Miami Lakes, we bring you the Miami Lakes Business Podcast, brought to you by the Miami Lakes Chamber of Commerce. And good day to everyone. Today we have someone here that we have never had before, and his name is Andrew Platt. That's
Hello.
the way I pronounced it right?
Yes,
Okay.
You did. Thank you. And if you didn't, I would be okay with that
Ernie
too.
is he's the owner of Ernie's Acai,
Yes.
which for some people it may be a strange word, but it is the store that just opened up here in Miami Lakes.
Correct.
But it's not your first store. You actually have. This is the third, right?
Yeah, this is our third location. I am born and raised in the area. When I say born and raised, I was born in Palm Springs North and have been in Miami Lakes my whole life. I grew up and bought a house a mile away from my mom. North, I guess, like every good Cuban kid, near your parents.
There you go.
A mile north in Miami Lakes. And I'm extremely excited to be here, not only to live in the town, but to finally have a business in the town. Like you had mentioned, we're on our third location. And it's kind of everything is serendipitous on how it all came about. And we're extremely excited to be here. We opened in the middle of a couple weeks ago in Royal Oaks Plaza, where the Winn-Dixie, the Cancun Grill, and the Outback is. And we were really excited to bring our successful concept that we have in Coral Gables and Pinecrest to my hometown. And especially to a side of the town, the west side, which didn't have a healthy alternative to get like a smoothie or an acai bowl. We're really, really excited to be here.
Well, that's good. That's very good to hear. Explain to me, what is acai?
So acai is a superfood from Brazil, right? It comes from the northern regions of Brazil. And it's a berry off of a palm tree. If we all go outside right now, all of the palm trees are in bloom and they have these small berries. There's an acai palm, which is, as I said, grown in Brazil, and those berries are picked off of the tree, then mashed up, soaked in water, and the juice is taken out. And this juice and pulp is what contains a ton of antioxidants, lots of vitamins, minerals. It is truly a superfood, and it literally comes off of a palm tree. It's the berry. And the way that it's harvested is the similar way to how they harvest like olive oil. You take the olives with the seeds, you grind it up, and then out of that comes the olive oil. It's very similar how they extract the juice or the flesh from the acai berry.
So the product actually comes from Brazil.
Yes, our product comes from Brazil. It's 99.99% of acai is grown in Brazil, and then either sent here in three forms: frozen juice, pulp, or frozen or powdered. And ours comes in a frozen pulp form, and then manufactured for us with our specific recipes and needs.
That's good. And we're going to go a little later on into actually what this are and what they contain and all that. But,
Absolutely.
But before that, what makes Ernie's Acai different than, because I know that there are some other acai establishments, I don't know if in the area or outside, nearby or whatever, but what makes you different?
The cool thing about acai is everyone who serves acai serves the same variation of the same product, right? It's the same thing, a little bit different. And acai bowls are usually made in two ways: a scooped form, which is kind of comes in like an ice cream, right? Like you would get a 3-gallon container of ice cream, or a blended form where you would take that frozen acai packs and blend it with different fruits and juices to basically make a thick smoothie. Ours at Ernie's is not that whatsoever. It comes out of, we treat it more like ice cream and process it through a soft serve machine. So think of your favorite soft serve ice cream from your favorite fast food place. Same machines they use, we use. And that texture that comes out is like ice cream. It's not ice cream. It's just 5 ingredients. They're all juices blend together. And the other thing that's very important about Ernie's is we don't use water in our mix. If you look at the ingredients of everybody's acai, the number one ingredient is purified water. So what happens when you freeze water? It turns to ice. So with us not having water and we have juices, it creates a very luxurious mouthfeel on the palate. Very creamy, very subtle. And then the way that we process it in the soft serve machine, it comes out colder than what you're going to get out of a freezer or a blender. So it doesn't melt as fast. Because the inherent problem that acai bowls have is they become soupy and goopy after 10 or 15 minutes, and you've got just basically liquid. We've poured bowls half an hour ago, and they still hold their consistency because it comes out colder.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, because I know that you were a high-paid, top executive with big restaurants, in the country. And so, what made you, go from there to own your own retail places?
It's very, very, it's crazy. My wife and I, we had our first son 2.5 years ago. And everybody has this existential crisis when something new happens in your life. And I was looking back and saying, all right, I'm with my son 30 minutes a day when he wakes up. And by the time I got home, he was already long gone to sleep. And I looked at myself and said, what is life? What is this, right? Like, this isn't, at the time, he was only a few months old, right? And he would never remember that. But when does it stop? So Labor Day weekend, my wife and I were down at Ocean Reef for a conference that she had. And we decided to go to dinner with a group of friends at a restaurant. And we all talked about going, but nobody made the reservation. Everybody thought everyone else made a reservation for like 10 people. It's a Friday or Saturday night, and nobody had a table. So we get put, I called it in the little kids section, outside, dead of summer, in the Florida Keys, Mosquito Central. And there happened to be a table joined next to us. And my wife was talking to her friends, and I didn't really have much interest in what they were talking about because it was all their work stuff and all the things that they do. So I keep hearing about this project and over budget and equipment and all of this, and my ears are perking up. I'm like, this is what I do for a living. So I tap my wife on the foot and I say, hey, I'm going to go talk to the guy next to us. And she's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And she's like, no, you're not. Sit your butt down. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go. So I walked up and I said, excuse me, I don't know you. You don't know me. But I'd like, I think you could use my help. I'm Andrew. Listen, I run the culinary department of a really big restaurant group, and I hear your woes. This is what I do for a living. Let me help you. Like, there's no strings attached here. And he's like, how can you help me? And I was like, listen, you're buying from Mary, but you need to buy from Joe because Mary buys from Bill, Bob, and then get to Joe. So let me at least guide you so you don't get, shafted by the 7 laws of separation when it comes to supply chain. Mm-hmm. And he's like, sure. So he would call me all the time. And it turns out he owned a cigar brand. And I used to be part of a group that had a cigar bar, and we were the only bar in Tennessee that had this brand.
Wow.
So it was kind of like happenstance. And then fast forward a few months later, he had another business partner that he was doing this project with, and he backed out. He's like, hey, my partner's backing out. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, how much money do you need? He said, X. And I said, let me talk to my wife. And here we are, 2 years later, or going on 3 years now.
Wow.
And we have 3 locations. It's not like our first location. We weren't plagued with everything that happens in Miami, construction and grease traps and water bills and all these crazy things. But 18 months in since we opened our first location, to be on our third is a huge Herculean task in itself. And to have the third location a half a mile from my house in a shopping center I've been going to since I was born is huge for me.
Yeah, that is. It must be. Are there any plans for Ernie's? Because that is the name of of all 3 establishments.
Yeah,
right?
So it's Ernie's
for franchises, future franchises.
I don't think we would say that's off the table. Franchising is a very, very complicated and convoluted process that requires a lot of capital and can go through a lot of scrutiny. I think right now our main focus is to get to 5, and then from 5 to 10. And then once we get to 10 locations, get to 20, and then figure out where we're at. Because a lot of times people franchise too early, and they're not ready for it as franchisors to then say, Fred and you and your spouse want to invest in us, and we're not ready. How can we guide you to do that? And you're putting your life savings on the line.
Right.
And that, for me, I've seen it time and time again with franchises that, people sink their entire 401ks or their individual retirement accounts into something, and then 6 months later it folds. It's gone.
Yeah, sometimes you see, the growth being too quick,
mm-hmm.
and the danger that people run into it. Because I know that Andrew you're going to do everything you can to make sure that your business where you're at runs smooth and give the proper service to the customers and the quality and whatever, but not necessarily somebody else that may not have the same passion that you have. So it's a kind of a dangerous, kind of a fine line there.
It is. And like I said, it's not off the table, but I think for now, we're just going to focus on what we call organic growth, right? Like have the business fund the business. So we're not just, we're not the guy at the poker table waiting for the next hand, or the next shoe at the blackjack table and it never comes. So absolutely correct.
That's good. What made you pick the locations that you have? You say you have one in Pinecrest, the other one in the Gables, and now here in Miami Lakes.
Yeah, so obviously I came into the project after a lease was signed in Coral Gables. And I remember when we opened it, we're like, oh my gosh, what have we done? It was super slow. And now it is just gangbusters. And it has grown organically. And, the last two locations kind of fell in our lap. We were presented the Miami Lakes location was supposed to hopefully have opened in January. We had struck a deal with the former tenant around Thanksgiving, but there was just some issues that had to be worked around on their part, on our part, to then be able to get the lease in play. But, Pinecrest was another Acai Bowl concept, a national franchise. And they said, you know what, we went out of the space doing business in Miami. We have, hundreds of locations, but doing business in South Florida is its own animal. And it's the proof of the pudding. Like everybody thinks they can come from all these cities and operate as they do in New York, Chicago, LA. But Miami's its own beast.
Totally different.
It is. It's like if you don't have the cafecito ready, don't even come, right? But we were able to take over an existing space rather quickly. We signed the lease on February 15th, and we were open by March 5th.
Wonderful.
So huge turnaround quickly. And then we took over the space in Miami Lakes on March 1st, and we opened by April 11th. But that was only because we had just opened Pinecrest, and we wanted the foundation to sort of dry on that location.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And what we look for is life being lived in the locations, right? What is the demographic, right? Are there families? Are there young professionals? Are there gyms nearby? Schools? Because the biggest part of our demographic are the college kids, high school kids, after school snacks. And not only that, it's the moms and dads who may be taking a gym class at lunchtime. That is a big part of our business. So we start looking for those key things, and then we say that's the location.
So would you say that this new generation now are going to be better fit than let's say my generation, where we used to drink everything that was heavy on this and heavy on that and sugar and
Fred, your generation walked uphill both ways in the snow. You So no, that's impossible. You walk barefooted 17 miles in the Serengeti Desert to get from Havana to Matanzas. But no, I say that in jest. But it's I think so. I think we're a lot more conscious, right? In what we put in our mouths these days. We don't say it's just because they said we can have it. At some point in life, they said, drinking coffee was bad for you, and everybody drinks coffee. But what's good for us today will be bad tomorrow. What's bad tomorrow will be good today.
I think everything within reason and moderation is the way to go.
And then to your point, the cool thing about our product is actually our acai itself has less sugar, calories, and carbs than everyone else, by the tune of 15 to 30% in each category. So a lot of times, acai bowls, the acai itself is healthy, but when you start topping Nutella and all of these crazy toppings, it kind of goes by the wayside. But we try to keep it nice and tight. And acai bowls are a meal replacement, right? Or a heavy snack. A small bowl has about 450 calories. That's what I had for lunch today. And you're not going to any restaurant and having a 450 calorie lunch.
That fills you.
Yeah, and that fills me. Like I ate today at 1:00. It's going
and it's not going an hour from now.
Exactly. It's not like when you eat Chinese food.
Right?
Fried rice
fills you, but then an hour you're hungry again.
Exactly.
So Andrew, tell me now, as the last part of our podcast today, I would like you to explain to our viewers exactly what we have here on our table.
So I brought our best-selling bowls, right? So the number one selling bowl in our company is the automatic. And we call it the automatic because it's the go-to, which are soft serve acai, granola, strawberries, banana, and honey, right? If you're from the age of 14 to 22, you take off the honey and add Nutella. Everybody goes in. I can walk. If I see somebody that looks the age of 14 to 22, my bets are automatic, no honey, Nutella, and 9 times out of 10, that's the order. So that's going to be this bowl down here. It's kind of hard because it's in our takeout container. The cool thing about our acai, since it's in a soft serve format, if you were to go get a soft serve cone, it has the spiral top. We do the same thing with our acai bowls. So we have our automatic. Our Choco Listo it's dark chocolate shavings, a chocolate coconut oil, roasted cashews, strawberries, and a touch of honey with our soft serve acai. So it kind of emulates the flavors of like a chocolate covered strawberry, that you would have for dessert, but in a healthier form. And then our Classico, it's a classic acai bowl. Bananas, blueberries, toasted coconut, honey, chia seeds, and flax seeds. We have over 12 different pre-built bowls, or you can make your own bowl with whatever you'd like on it. We have our signature acai base, and we also have an organic coconut sorbet that can be added to our bowls.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. I want to taste one of those
Absolutely.
after the podcast.
Absolutely.
So, Andrew, thank you so much for being here with us today. Invite the viewers to taste.
Yeah, so we're Ernie's Acai. You can follow us on Instagram or our social media at Ernie's Acai. We're located here in the town at 15468 Northwest 77th Court in Royal Oaks Plaza, right next door to the Unikay Wax. And
that's right where the Winn-Dixie is.
Right at the Winn-Dixie. So get your groceries, get an acai bowl. It's going to be a great day.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for being with us. And we learn a lot about the acai. I learned to pronounce the word because I always say acai. And then I was corrected immediately, say it is acai.
So about a year ago, Sylvester Stallone and his family filmed an episode of their new reality show at their location. And him and I had a back and forth on how to pronounce it. And he was telling me I was wrong. I was telling him he was wrong. But it's kind of scary when you tell Rocky he's wrong, And
that must have been a hell of a scene to be in.
Exactly. He's like, Acai. And I'm like, no, acai. And he's like, Acai. They told me in Brazil. And I'm like, no, it's acai. I have my life savings on it.
That's wonderful. Well, we wish you the best. We wish you great success. And I invite you to try acai at Ernie's Acai. And until next time.